Gonna have a good time. Um, there we go. And I went live on time on Instagram. All right, so what's going on, y'all? It's another week, another Monday night on the set where our mission is to love God, love people, make disciples, spread the gospel. Have y'all committed that to memory yet? Like, if somebody asks you, like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the set about? Like, could y'all stand and deliver? If somebody asked y'all that, I be trying to be conscious about, huh?
Gospel is some God love people spread the planet.
Love God, love people, and share the planet. Your signal going in and out is breaking up.
No, make disciples spread gospel.
Oh yeah, yeah,
My
yeah. Yeah.
so
Okay. Good deal. Yeah, love God, love people, make disciples, spread the gospel in that order. So yeah, if somebody asks, oh, what's that? What's that about? What we do? Love God, love people, make disciples, and spread the gospel. That's our goal. That's our mission. And as Christians and followers of Christ, that's what we are commissioned to do anyway. So, like I said, welcome to the set. Hello. Nina, bro, I'm telling you, I got you, Zach. This summer is up, cuz. I want like merch with the OG set shirt like I got, and then one with like Crew Love, and then one with the mission, love God, love people, make disciples, spread the gospel. That's not gonna go crazy. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I promise y'all. Before this summer. Before the summer. When is summer? June? Before June. Before June, we're gonna be on there. We're gonna have set merch for sure. Um, so yeah, welcome to the set. We are currently in a series entitled Are You the One? Last week we kind of laid some foundational groundwork as far as who we are, what is our true identity, and we discovered based off of Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 and 27 that we are created in the image and the likeness of God. I asked the question on last week, what is wrong with God? And nobody could find anything wrong with God. Interesting. When I did my Wednesday night class, I asked the same question, what's wrong with God? And somebody actually responded with something other than nothing. They was like, he angry. He angry. God angry. Which I'm certain he is considering the world. But yeah, so we came to the conclusion that there's nothing wrong with God. And as a result of that, if we're created in his likeness and image, then there is inherently nothing wrong with us. Now, we may do wrong things or, speak wrong things, believe wrong things. You know what I'm saying? Our actions may be wrong, but as far as us, as not even human beings, but as spirits, because we're spirit first, there's nothing wrong with us. So, that's what we learned on last week, and a lot was revealed. Also, before I go forward, we spoke about I think I asked y'all the question of is God in control? So, clarification, because I posed the same question in my Wednesday night class, and just for the sake of clarity, in case it wasn't clear here, we got it cleared up on Wednesday night. But anyway, God is in control as far as he predestines outcomes. He knows the end from the beginning, and he makes the pieces move in whichever way or allows things to work out in order to fulfill that predetermined outcome. Now, even if we, as in human beings, we allow our flesh to take control and we live in opposition and make decisions that are opposed to his perfect will, he ultimately has the control in the final outcome. Now, he's not controlling, as in he doesn't force us to do anything. Now, he may, you know what I'm saying, create situations and circumstances that compel us to do what his will is. But as far as like him forcing us to do his will, no, he's never taken away our free will. So I just wanted to clear that up if I did not on last week. So without further ado, I'm gonna pray us in and I'm gonna let y'all check in and then we gonna get into our lesson for tonight. God, oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. Because yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, first and foremost for being God. Thank you for your goodness, your grace, your mercy, your loving kindness, your grace. Thank you for being all things to us, God. Thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for just loving us and showing us the way, God. I thank you for just another opportunity for us to gather here. And I pray that your spirit rest, rule, and abide within this session. God, I pray that you open our hearts to let us receive what it is your spirit is saying. Let our minds discern what it is your spirit is saying through your word. Oh God, I pray that you give us godly wisdom, knowledge, understanding, clarity, focus, vision. And Lord, help us to apply your word to our lives. Help us to apply what we learned tonight to our lives. And God, I thank you for each and every person that's gathered here on Zoom or any of our other platforms, Lord. I pray that you touch each and every person, no matter where they are, Lord. I pray that you honor their commitment and their sacrifice to be here on tonight. And ultimately, God, I pray that you let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, oh Lord. My strength and my redeemer, God, do your thing. I'm just here. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all. Who gonna set it off?
I'll go first while Raylan is quiet. Um, because we don't know about a few minutes, but um, I think mentally I'm a 10. Spiritually, I think I'm a 9. Physically, probably like a 7, 6. And emotionally, I think I'm a 8.
Okay. Come on, y'all, let's do it.
I'll go next. I'm 8 all around the board.
All right.
Mentally and physically, I'm an 8. Spiritually and emotionally, I'm a 7.
Hey y'all, I'm a 7.5 quad board.
Hey y'all, I'm a 10 across the board. Life is good.
Period. All right.
What's up, everybody? Physically, I'm a 7. Mentally, I'm an 8. Spiritually, I'm an 8. And emotionally, I'm like a 6.
I say mentally, I'm about a 7. Spiritually, I'm about a 7.5. Emotionally, I'm like an 8. And physically, I'm like an 8. Um, real quick, I got my girlfriend here with me. She wants to check in too. So yeah, everybody say hey to Tiana.
Hey, Tiana
Hi.
girl.
So mentally, on a scale from 1 to 10, mentally I'm feeling, I'll probably say an 8, spiritually 7, emotionally 9, physically about a 5.
Yeah, you've been working hard.
That was I know that's right. Y'all get y'all significant others to join the set. A couple that pray together stay together most of the time. All right, let's see. All right, so That's it. No, that ain't it. That ain't everybody. Y'all, come on. I know some of y'all in the chat, but that ain't all of y'all. Oh, okay. Cherish. Who invited you? You can put it in the chat. If you shy, you ain't gotta say nothing.
Oh, I
If
could
oh, you can. Okay, go ahead. Who
yeah,
invited you?
I wasn't sure because I'm new, so I was like, oh, do I say something?
Go
Um,
ahead.
Tori invited me.
Oh, Tori. Okay, cool, 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 cool. That's what's up. I hope you enjoy the session.
I think I will. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, who else? Who we got in the chat? All right, let's see. Cherish say she a 5'6" across the board. Alicia, 8 spiritually, 7.5 very wells, tie tens across the board. Love to see it. Tori is a 4 physically, 8 across the board in other places. Who is it? Christina, 5 mentally, spiritually, 3 physically, 7 emotionally, 2. Yay. Mentally and spiritually 7, physically 3, emotionally 6, and he just getting out from work. All right. So I think they got everybody. As for me, I am um physically I'm a little tired, so I give me about a 6, and mentally, emotionally, I'm at about a I give me about an 8. Spiritually, I'm feeling like a 9. Um, I want to know how are y'all doing? Those of you, we are doing a consecration this month. Um, I know we had some of y'all ask some questions and stuff in the chat about like just encouragement and how to stay strong in the midst of the consecration and all. So I just want to check in. We about halfway through this week. Actually, we'll hit the halfway point on Thursday or Friday through our consecration. How are y'all doing? How y'all feeling? What's the word? So basically what we're doing is we are consecrating ourselves this month, and really just praying and seeking God for clarity and focus on what is our purpose, revealing that to us, and how do we align ourselves with His will in order to fulfill purpose. And that coincides with the series for this month, which is Are You the One? And we're discussing and dealing with the topic of identity and purpose here as well as in the class I teach on Wednesdays. So the consecration is really based on discovering more of that. And how do we effectively do that? By first of all praying and seeking God, reading His word, not just reading but studying and meditating on the word. When we meditate, it's basically just opening yourself up mentally and spiritually and allowing God to speak, allowing the Spirit of God to speak to you, and you know what I'm saying, basically communicate whatever it is in His word and how it applies to your life personally. Um, as far as the basis for the consecration, we are abstaining from all manner of drugs and alcohol, including marijuana and cigarettes. I don't know if any of y'all smoke cigarettes, but put the pack down. Just please put the pack down for the consecration. Um, Also no illegal sex. What's illegal sex? Sex outside of the confines of marriage or the covenant of marriage. Um, as well as we're committing to prayer at least 5 minutes a day, uninterrupted prayer time. Like I told y'all already, what we're praying for. Um, and the other thing is just whatever else, one other thing that you want to surrender to God for this month, whether it be social media or secular music or a type of food, or you know what I'm saying? It's a plethora of things that you can choose from that you would like to surrender to God for the duration of this month. And if you haven't started, it's not too late to start, y'all. And if you started and fell off, get back on. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. It's about what's your heart posture? What's your intention? That's what God ultimately looks at and judges our hearts. You know what I'm saying? What our intentions are. So yeah, I encourage y'all to stick to the consecration, give it a real chance. I promise you, there has not been a time when I've truly consecrated myself to God and He has not produced something greater in me. Because when we consecrate, it's an act of denying our flesh and basically placing our flesh on an altar, not physically killing yourself, but it's, you know what I'm saying, a death to your will in exchange for the will of God. So yeah, I just want to encourage y'all on that. If you need help, if you need more guidance, more clarity on it, please don't hesitate, hit me up, hit up some of the other people in the chat. I really liked, I think that was last Wednesday, somebody had dropped a question in the chat about where do we go from here? Like basically after the consecration, okay, how do I maintain this relationship that I'm developing during this month? And you know what I'm saying, with other members of the crew that were able to answer that question. I was in the midst of doing something else, but they provided great insight and feedback to that question. So it's really the set is a community, man. It's a family. We all in this thing together. It's really about discipleship, which discipleship is nothing more than doing life together outside of whatever your church affiliation is. We just all believers all trying to get closer to God. So yeah, that's my spiel on that. So um tonight we are discussing identity some more from another angle. I want to ask y'all, what is an identity crisis? Can somebody shed some light on that? What is an identity crisis? Also, if you haven't dropped your name in the chat, please drop your name in the chat for attendance purposes. We got the set it off challenge going on. So you get credit if you stay on. Whoever's on at the end of the class, y'all get credit. All the people that were on by 7:35 got credit for showing up on time. But yeah, so make sure y'all drop your name in the chat so I can keep attendance. But identity crisis, what is an identity crisis?
And it's like when you confused about yourself or something like that.
Um, yeah, in a sense. Christina said conflict between who you believe you are, who people believe you are, and who you're called to be. Like that. Like that. Anybody else? What is an identity crisis?
I can go. Can
Say what now?
you hear me now?
Yeah, you clear.
I just like to say I feel like it's a moment in your life where you kind of just lose yourself a little bit depending on most of the times when I hear about them, it's more so like because of situations that's happened where your morals and your characters are tested.
Okay. Situation where your morals and character are tested. Okay. All good responses, all good responses. Anybody else identity crisis? Or okay, let's go here. Have you had any experience personally with conflict in your identity?
Okay, so I'll start with saying like I feel like identity crisis is can happen from situational or mental things, but it's basically where you kind of veer or just can't understand or can't see God's plan or purpose for your life. And I feel like, I mean, they're normal, and I feel like we go through them more often than not, and not understanding God's purpose or not realizing God's purpose or not believing in His purpose. So I feel like we go through them, once a week, maybe twice a month, like a lot.
That's real now. That is real. If if we're being honest, which a lot of people seldom are, but this is it, and we gonna be all the way hot. What's that? Honest, open, and transparent. Exactly what Ariel said. Everybody at one point or another has if we being out of awareness in some way. It may not be like a, you know what I'm saying, like this massive knockdown, drag out situation like what we gonna discuss on tonight in the word with this individual that had an identity crisis. But you know what I'm saying? We have all had, and if you haven't, wait
Yes,
a
mom.
while. It's gonna it's probably gonna come up at some point or another where you're gonna find yourself at odds, especially if you are really seeking to, you know what I'm saying, be who God called and created you to be and really fulfill purpose. Your will, simply because we born in sin, shaped in iniquity, this flesh is constantly at war with our spirits. And so as a result of that, there's always gonna be an opposition between what God's will is and what our will is. Now, sometimes people, some people surrender and submit to the will of God easier than others. Then there are those who completely reject God's will and plan, and you know what I'm saying, they go out go off into a tailspin, so to speak, and either they completely crash out or the circumstances that they find themselves in, 'cause like I told y'all earlier in the session, God is ultimately in control. He has a way of working all things together for his good and for our good and for his glory and for his purpose. So while you out here spinning and you know that God has chosen you, you know God has called you to do a certain thing, to show up in the world a certain way, and you're running from that, or you're, in the words, kicking against the prick, which means you like are knowingly disobedient, blatantly disregarding and disobeying God's command. He'll make life difficult for you. Now he might let you go out there and live your life, do your thing for a minute. But after a while, those who are really chosen and by him, not just called, but those who are chosen for his glory, for his purpose to do something to affect change in a major way in the earth, there comes a point where you really are gonna have to make a decision. It's really do or die. And sometimes it's do and die. As we're gonna see tonight in the word. So thank y'all for that response. Anybody else, what have you, do you have a instance of where you dealt with a bout of identity crisis? Like on any level, it don't have to be nothing big.
I can go.
I'll go.
Okay. Well, both y'all, one go and then the other one go. Go ahead.
You can go.
Okay, sorry. I was gonna say, I want to say my last year of undergrad and maybe my first, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of grad school. Um, and for me, an identity crisis really happens when you get yourself, who you are, confused with the roles that you're in. And so I
Mhm.
was doing these multiple things like on campus. I was in my sorority. When I got to grad school, I was part of this community, whatever, whatever, whatever. And over time, it was just like, okay, well, like I'm playing all these multiple different roles, not even counting the ones that are outside of school. So I'm somebody's daughter, I'm somebody's sister, I'm somebody's friend. But when am I just like, I found myself asking myself the question a lot, like, when do I just get to be me? Like, I'm just a girl. But then I had to stop saying that because I realized, like, no, I'm not just a girl. Like, I'm a child of God, and I'm allowed to do all of these different things and play all of these different roles, but I can't lose sight of the fact that my identity is in Him. Um, so yeah, I think those are probably the times where I really like I noticed I was like, wow, like, am I these things that I do, or am I just like, am I Him for real?
Mhm. That's good. That's good. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, so for me, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like with my identity crisis, I put too much of my identity in my academics
And I low key blame my family. I'm not gonna say it's their fault, but like they put me up to such a high pedestal to the point where I like try to upkeep that. Even like last week, I literally was like, okay, I'm graduating summa cum laude. I'm good. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I failed my final, and my grade dropped down to an 89. Like I thought everything was over. I'm like, I'm a fraud. You know, my GPA gonna drop down. I'm gonna be magna. I'm not really gonna be summa. I'm like, and then today my final grades came in and he changed it to an A. And I'm just like, see, you was worrying about nothing. Your grades do not define who you are. You still graduated regardless of whatever the grade was. I need to relax a little bit, and I'm glad I'm finna take this year off so I don't keep stressing out about some grades.
Ooh, girl, listen here. That's real. That right there, Ken, that was my thing right there with my little identity crisis. The first part of identity crisis that I was having when I was in the age and stage of life that y'all in. This whole idea of perfection and just being perfect. So I say, period, Kennedy, that's so real, Christina. I'm gonna get your name together. Um, girl, same. I failed my unit 6 by a couple points, and I cried all the way back to the dorm. Child, it be like that. Listen, especially and honestly, for me, that's why college was such a humbling experience. And like I said, that was kind of where I had my first like foray with identity crisis, I guess, was when I got to college. And some of y'all know I done told the story about my whole college journey, in which when I graduated high school, I did not know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I just knew that the natural progression of things was you graduate high school, you go to college. And because I was a high achiever in high school, you definitely your next step is to go to college. And ended up by the grace of God getting accepted into my dream school. Not only that, got a full ride to my dream school, but still in the midst of all of that, with the scholarship that I received, there were only a set amount of, or like there were only certain majors. There we go. There were only certain majors that you could have and keep the scholarship or whatever. So I'm going through the list of majors, and I was like, okay, out of this list, I'll be an engineer. I didn't know what an engineer was. I thought the engineer was the folks that drive the train. That's what I thought the engineers were. But I was like, okay, cool. I will be an engineer. And man, got in there because I'm like, school is school. We gonna do this, and it gonna be what it's gonna be. So I went into it just like Kenny was saying, like for all my life, my identity was found in not necessarily, I wouldn't say just academics, but performing well. Anybody relate to that? I'm sure some of y'all can. It's like how well you perform. And I've always performed well. I've always, up until that point, had always excelled in academics, pretty much anything. I had never experienced failure up until that point. Like any and everything I put my hand to do, I was successful at it. So along with that, not only did it come with a certain level of pressure from my community, because not only was I going to school, I was also a first generation college student. So that's a whole nother level of just like pressure and just, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot. So it wasn't just the pressure, it also came with a certain air of pride. And so I was very prideful because academics was something that came easy to me. And for the first time, I got in a situation academically where College, boy, that thing whooped me. It whooped me real bad. First semester, I was fighting for my life. And I didn't know how to study. And like I say, because I was so prideful, I did not ask for help. I just, you know what I'm saying, I was like, yo, I'm just gonna figure this out. I'm gonna lock in. And the other thing was, honestly did not want to be there. I was lost. I did not know who I was and what I was really in there for, besides, oh, this is just what you're supposed to do. And I want y'all to know that is not enough. That is not enough because when the going gets going, you'll get gone. If the only thing you'll get got or you'll get gone or got and gone because you need to be anchored to something. And although, like, I grew up in church, I did not have a true revelation or relationship, honestly, with God. Even that was something that I felt like, oh, I'm praying because this is what I'm supposed to do. And you know what I'm saying, God allowed things to work out. Like, hey, I get in the jam. Hey, God, I need you to help. You know, trying to basically using God as a genie, so to speak. But eventually all of that fell down. And when it did, I went into a very bad state of just depression, honestly, because it's like, okay, who am I if I'm not excelling in school? If I'm not doing well. And at that point, I didn't really have anything extracurricular going on. So it's like, okay, where's my purpose? Real, like, why am I even here if I'm doing school and I've been doing excelling in school all this time, all my life. And now here it is. I'm in a situation where I'm not doing well. Like it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And also because I'm a perfectionist, I like to do well. And if I don't, if it ain't going well, I'm not able to do it all the way. I feel like I've failed. So yeah. That's good with what Ken said. We got some more people in the chat. Ariel say nursing exam gonna take me out. If I get a C, I'm like I wanted to be. If I get a B, I want an A. That's real. Ye said I was tripping about school too, but got news today. My GPA increased and I have one more class left before I can apply to the nursing program. Praying 5 minutes a day has been helping tremendously for real. And reading my word helped me to be more confident and I actually hear God more clearly. Oh, that's a blessing. Go ahead, Jordan.
Okay, I go. About the school thing. So everybody, well, not everybody, but I had graduated high school from as salutatory. Then I get to nursing school and I made my first C, not on a test, like out of class. I was so upset and well, while I was in nurse school, when I tell y'all my GPA just dropped, like I graduated with a 3.4, 3.3, but I didn't graduate anything, no magna cum laude, summa cum laude, none of that. I just graduated. But I realized you do put your identity into school because you be so focused on the grades, but then when you graduate, it's like I'm a nurse now, and the grades, it don't even matter. You still doing the same thing that everybody who graduate magna cum laude and summa cum laude doing. And another thing, I won't say I'm going through identity crisis now, but it's like I was just telling somebody, your mind be so trained with school that now that I'm done with school, I never thought I'd say I want to go back to school, but it's like, what's next? Like you be I'm on a it's like with school, I was always thinking like, okay, I got another test, I got this next, I got this next. Now I'm moved to Atlanta, I'm up here working. It's like, okay, what I do now? And honestly, I feel like we're so trained to just focus on school throughout our whole life that when we're out of school, we don't know how to operate for real. Like, I'm like, I want to plan a trip. Then it's weird. But I don't know if that's an identity crisis or not, or maybe I'm just trying to figure out life.
Look, that's why I say it's because honestly, with the stage that a lot of y'all are in life, there haven't probably been any major uh identity crisis that y'all have been confronted with. Like I said, I can relate to what Ken was saying, and even what Jordan was just saying, as far as like being wrapped up, especially as a person who has consistently been a high achiever, your identity being wrapped up in what you can do academically, and then that falling apart. Like I said, y'all still graduated all these with the high GPAs that y'all had. Mine, I graduated. Thank you, Lord. That's what I graduated as. I went through a lot of a lot
Thank
of
you, Lottie.
thank you, Lordy. That's what I graduated. Because, baby, listen, I was that close right there. Literally went to the registrar's office, was about to withdraw and just drop out because, yeah, nah, it was too much. And I wasn't doing nothing. Like, I felt like I was really wasting my life. Honestly, at times now, when I look back at my college career, I'm like, bro, what was I like? Money well wasted. Time. I see the value in it now. I mean, I see how all things work together. I see from the standpoint of just growth and maturity, the benefit of going to college. But that's literally it. Like nothing else. I somebody was like, you encourage people. I do not encourage people to go to unless it's something that you absolutely want to do. I be telling these parents and these people, I'm like, baby, don't send if you want somebody to encourage your child to go to school, don't send them to me because I'm gonna give them the real. And my testimony is, I feel like I could have and would have ended up exactly where I am right now without college. Honestly speaking, there is a myriad of more inexpensive ways for me to learn what I learned and get what I got through the college experience than I did going through it. So anyway, that's my little rant about college. But God bless everybody that's in college. Um, it can be it'll be what you make it. Let me put it like that. It'll be what you make it. But college is not for everybody. And that's another thing I had to reconcile with because I felt like because you smart, you supposed to go to college. Like I graduated in the top, you know, portion of my class in high school. And so it's just like you smart. That's what you smart people go to college. Duh, it's school. But there's a reason why your major is called a discipline because I'm sure there were people who may not have been as intellectually adept as I was, but they had the discipline to get in there and do what they needed to do to get their degree. Me, on the other hand, mentally had it like good, but I could not discipline myself. And this also goes in tandem with what we're talking about with identity and purpose, being disciplined to submit yourself to what it is that you need to do in order to, you know what I'm saying, reach whatever the finish line is and the goal that you have set and fulfilling the purpose that you down here for. And so that's what it really, when it comes down to college and in just real life in general. Like where y'all at now, entering into like being grown for real, like real deal adulthood, not just with your age being 18, 21, but like you're graduating high school, you're going into the workforce, you know what I'm saying? You making moves and really being how can I say it? Really for most of y'all probably taking on real deal responsibility for the first time in your life. And you'll find as you continue on this journey of life, like it's really about being disciplined. You can't always do what you want. You can't always have it your way. And that's a part of adulting. But back to the topic or staying on the topic of identity. I personally, just over the past, because I had that first little run in college, and then here in my adult life over the past 3 years or so, I came to terms with it again. Another phase of identity. I don't. We would call it the crisis. We would call it the crisis because I was in a bad way for a hot long minute because I was at war with myself and with God, and it started manifesting in other ways. And like, I was almost like, I could almost liken it to a temper tantrum almost. And so, I just had a real honest conversation with God, and that's why I encourage y'all to do this whole 5 minute a day prayer. Like Kanye say, it's working for him. I promise you, if you commit yourself to it, just like that's a starting point. 5 minutes be gone like that before you know it. But you'll find that God can handle the tough conversations. Like God can handle brutal, radical honesty. And actually, that's what He wants from us. He didn't because He knows our thoughts. He knows everything about us already. So there's nothing that you can say to Him or tell Him, reveal to Him, confess to Him that He can't handle. You know what I'm saying? So a few years ago, I'm in the midst of just a lot of just transformation and change, and I'm like, hey God, this ain't what I signed up for. It's like this is not the life I envisioned. I was being pulled out of my comfort zone in the sense of I'm very introverted, and my my comfort zone is being behind the scenes. Like I'm the person that I'm gonna pull the strings. I can cultivate the environment for things to pop off. But I don't want to. I ain't got to be in the mix. Like you ain't got to be seeing me. Like you seeing me is whatever this thing is I'm producing. Like that's my representation. You don't have to physically see me. So things were happening in my life and in my career. At this point, I had transitioned to working full time at the church, and there were a lot of a lot of just changes that were going on with that as far as work wise. And so I was being, what I'm saying, pulled into more visible roles or like administrative roles or whatnot. And that really just ain't never been my vibe. And so in the process of that is like I'm also having to be more vocal and more visible. And I'm bucking against it. I'm like, yeah, God, nah, this ain't it, G. And finally, maybe in like 2023, 2024, or maybe both. It's all a blur at this point. I was just talking to God and I'm like, yo, I'm going through it right now. Either you're gonna have to change this or you're gonna have to change me because I'm lashing out. I'm I'm spinning. And I know me, I know whenever I'm in a season of transition and transformation, major transition and transformation, I start I start spinning. And when I start doing that, I start acting a straight fool and will burn up, burn down everything in my trail. And that's why I have to get out of situation. That's when I eject myself because I can see it. Like, yeah, I'm finna do some major damage. Like I do a little bit of damage, but then I can see, yeah, it's finna get bad. So I knew because I at this point was like really, really locked in with God. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm gonna obey. I'm gonna go your way. My will is yours, my life is yours. So I'm like, I know I can't just leave. So I need you to work on it. And so in the midst of me just venting to God about my situation, he was like, you upset with me. You're mad at me. And I'm like, but no, because at that point, I'd always been taught that you can't be mad at God. Like, God is God. What you look like being mad at him? You can't fight God. So I'm like, nah, God ain't mad at you. And God's like, yeah, bro, you mad at me. And that's okay. And so when I calmed down a bit and I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I'm mad at you because it was a battle of my will versus his will. My will and my idea of my life and my identity up to that point was not lining up with what I felt like and in my spirit knew he was trying to call me into. And so I was like, you know what, God? I am mad at you because this is not what I signed up for. I signed up and agreed to do this particular thing, which only required this much of me, and now you're requiring much more than I'm willing to give, or and much more than what I'm comfortable giving. Cause it's like I got this vision in my mind of what my life's supposed to be like, what I want to be doing. I'm young, I'm hot, I'm out here, and you want me to be committed and do this thing for real, for real. And me and God, we came to a understanding of sorts, and I had to reconcile with what I was becoming and really die to my idea. I knew that leaving that conversation, leaving that altar, because that's where I was. It was just there wasn't no church service going on, but I went and like just sat at the altar and talked to God. I knew that when I left there, I had to leave my identity or what I had formulated in my mind as my identity and pick up his. And at that point, I think maybe we weren't like, I don't think the set was what it is now at that point when it first started. By the time me and God had this other conversation, the set was kind of gaining some traction. It still wasn't to the extent that it is now, but I was just I really was battling with my will versus his. And it came to a point of surrenderance because life was just getting so crazy and hectic. And the reason why it was like that is because I was on the run. I was bucking against him. And his thing to me was, it's either you gonna do it my way or we ain't gonna do this at all. You see how you on the edge, you walk around anxious and depressed and suicidal. So either you can do it my way and live, or you can go ahead and crash out. And honestly, for a minute there, the whole crashing out option didn't sound as bad because I'm like, well, Lord, I know you as the savior of the world and my savior. So if it is over with now, I'm already knowing where I'm gonna wake up. But the thing about it is, like, God's spirit is so great that even when we don't want to do it and we don't even want to live sometimes, God's plan prevails. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like I say, it's varying levels of identity crisis. And like I said, once I yielded to that, then so many other avenues and doors became open and life became clearer. Um, some days are better than others, and it's still a wrestle at times because it is a faith walk. It is a daily crucifixion of my flesh and of my desire and of my plans. But the more that I walk with God, that's why I was telling y'all the importance of being consecrated, the more you get in tune with the spirit and the more you yield and you know what I'm saying, submit to the spirit of God, he transforms and conforms your will to his. So it's like, dang, it's not, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta pray, I gotta read the word. It's like, no, I get to do this. Like, I wanna know you, I wanna spend time with God, I wanna, you know what I'm saying, grow spiritually. I wanna feed my spirit. But it takes, like I said, it's a fight, man, and it's ebbs and it flows, and it's just all types of just stuff, honestly. And I'm still in the thick of it right now, but it's easier than it was when I began. And so with that being said, tonight, y'all know a couple months ago we was doing our series on Fatal Attractions. I think that was either February or March. And we did the Fatal Attraction series and we talked about Samson. And y'all know Samson was out here wilding. And I told y'all we were gonna revisit him because we a lot of times we talk about Samson, we talk about the story situation with him and Delilah, but Samson had a lot going on. One of y'all called him the first YN. Samson was out here, and what was going on with him really and truly was an identity crisis. Samson was at war with what his idea of who he was and what he wanted to do and be and what God's vision was for his life. And so we see throughout the entire story of Samson, the full story, we're not gonna read it all because we went through the whole thing. We went through the whole thing a couple months ago. But we're gonna hit a couple of verses, but we see how God communicated his will and his purpose for Samson even before he was conceived. So that tells us, just like we read in Jeremiah last week, how God spoke to Jeremiah and told him, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you was conceived, I knew you. So God has our identity. God has a purpose and a plan for us before we're even fully here on earth, before we breathe our first breath. We have purpose. We have identity in God. And that was the same with Samson. He told Samson's mom, hey, you're going to conceive a son. This is what I need you to do. You can't eat or drink anything unclean, no alcohol whatsoever. When he's born, you should never cut his hair. He's supposed to be consecrated to me as a Nazarite from birth. So this is in the womb, before, not even in the womb. He was consecrated in the womb, but his purpose and his identity was established spiritually, which is what we also talked about last week with Genesis 1 verses 26 through 27, how God spoke a thing and it was established in the spirit before we were even before man was formed in the earthly realm. So we see the same thing happening with Samson in Judges chapter 13, when the angel of the Lord visited Samson's parents and told them what his identity and purpose was. So finally we get Samson on the scene, and he grown, he big, he feeling himself, he pretty much in the same age and stage of life as a lot of us are right now, where it's like, man, I got the whole world at my hands. I look good, I'm living good, I'm having my way, I'm doing me. And yeah, I get what y'all saying I'm supposed to do, because the word tells us that his parents made him aware of who he was and why he was supposed to live according to this separate set of laws than what the average person would have. But a lot of times, like I said, when we have this battle of identity crisis where we're not reconciled with our calling and our purpose, we're not in agreement with what it is that God is telling us to do, we kind of be on the run. And the thing about it is, you can't outrun God, you can't outrun yourself. Why? Because you with yourself all the time. And God, because God is everywhere at all times. He already know it all. He done seen it all. So we have Samson, and he's knowing what God called him to be, knowing his purpose, but his flesh is so in control of him that he can't just submit and do what it is that he's supposed to do. And it caused him to be out here marrying the wrong people. He out here drinking and eating what he ain't supposed to be touching. And it got him to the point where ultimately it cost him his life. He got so comfortable in his sin and in doing what it was that he wanted to do, having his way, that his story ended tragically. However, he still fulfilled the purpose that it was that God initially had for him. By the time he got to the point of doing that, he had lost everything. This man had gone blind. He was broke, busted, and disgusted. He was a slave to these people. But it took all of that for him to finally submit. That's why I say when you're chosen by God, he'll take you up through there just to get the glory out of your life. Not that he gonna fix, because it still could have been where Samson was bitter and was like, yeah, I'm still not doing what God say do. And he would have eventually end up dying. But however, Samson had a aha moment, light bulb moment. Something clicked after he lost everything. And he finally came to a point of submission and surrenderance. And he was like, okay, God, if you just give me one more moment of supernatural godly strength, I'm gonna set it off for your glory. And in that one moment, not only because his purpose was to free the Israelites from the control of the Philistines, but in that moment, not only did he do that, but he also died in the process. I think at the end of it all, Samson may have been 40. That's not that old. That's not old at all, 40 years old. But that just goes to show us, like, man, you can try to outrun your purpose, but ultimately, when you're chosen by God, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's so much bigger than you. And the best thing for you to do is to fully lock in and just submit. Because his plan is best. It's better than what you can ask, what you can think, what you can imagine. If we put our focus on pleasing him, we put our make our goal him being glorified in us and through us, then all of the other stuff that we asking for, that we want in life, it'll come. Like the bag gonna come, the job gonna come, the man, the woman, that it's gonna come in time. But you have to seek him first. That's what the word says. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. So tonight we're gonna, like I said, we're not gonna go through the entire story of Samson. It's just a few verses that I wanna highlight for y'all, for us to kind of take notice of before we get up out of here tonight. So we find ourselves in Judges chapter 13. Yeah, there we go. Judges chapter 13. And verse 3, we talking about Samson's mom. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, behold, you are infertile and have no children, but you shall conceive and give birth to a son. Therefore be careful not to drink wine not to drink wine or any other intoxicating drink, and do not eat anything ceremonially unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and give birth to a son. No razor shall come upon his head, for the boy shall be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from birth, and he shall begin to rescue Israel from the hands of the Philistines. So we see before he's even conceived, God has established his purpose. God always does things in decency and in order. He establishes is spiritually, and then he manifests it physically. That's why a lot of things we having faith for and we believing for, like, long as you got a word from God, God said, hey, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, stand on that. Trust that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the timeline because like we discussed in another series, our time ain't God's time. Even though in our minds it may be delayed, it's always gonna happen. So we see Samson, his identity is established in the spirit before he's even conceived. His mom knows what his purpose is and what he's supposed to do in the earth. He's supposed to be consecrated unto God. He's never supposed to cut his hair. He's not supposed to eat anything that's unclean or drink anything that's unclean, which means even before he's born, because he's telling his mom, don't drink anything, no wine or anything that's intoxicating, which she pregnant, she ain't supposed to do that anyway, or anything that's unclean. Like this diet, this way of life for him, it starts before he even gets here. Like from the womb, I need him to have this. He's supposed to, I'm shaping and forming him into who I ultimately need him to be. So, like I say, verse 13, that's just basically, I mean, chapter 13, I'm sorry, is basically laying foundation. So in verse 24, the woman in due time gave birth to a son and named him Samson, and the boy grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the spirit of the Lord began to stir him at times in the Mahana dam between Zorah and Eshtaol. So basically, we see once Samson is born, as he grows, God is with him. God is blessing him, and the Spirit of the Lord is dealing with him, even from a kid. So boom, as a lot of us do, you hit adolescence, or you get grown like y'all are. You know what I'm saying? Your young adult years, your 20s and so forth. You start feeling yourself. So here we go in chapter 14. Samson went down to Timnah, and at Timnah he saw a woman, one of the daughters of the Philistines. Now check this out. Now we already established what he's supposed to be freeing, delivering his people from the Philistines. Why now is he trying to marry his oppressors, marry into this culture? And is that not sometimes what we do? Like we already know, okay, God called us to be set apart. He called us to be in the world, but not of the world. But we find ourselves being attracted and deeply engaged with the very thing that he's called us out of, that he called us to be an example to and to deliver us from. And that's what Samson's doing against who God already established, what his identity and purpose was. In his mind, it's like, nah, bro, I want to do me. So he went back home and told his father and mother, I saw this woman, one of the daughters of the Philistines. Now get her for me as a wife. But his mother and father said to him, is there no woman among the daughters of your relatives or among all our people that you must go to take a wife from the uncircumcised pagan Philistines? And Samson said to his father, get her for me because she looks pleasing to me. Verse 4 is very important. His father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord and that he was seeking an occasion to take action against the Philistines. Now, at that time, the Philistines were ruling over Israel. So, see, even in Samson's seemingly just he out here wilding, God is still using it for his good, for his glory, rather. So, yeah, it's crazy that Samson want to go marry these Philistines. His mom and daddy is like, no, bro, we told you who you are, what you supposed to be, what you need to do, what God has purposed you for, and you want to go and be with this? You want to do that? Can't you find somebody else? All these girls over here, and you want to deal with the ops? Weird. But Samson like, yeah, nah, she seemed right to me. She look good. That's what I want. And that's how it is when you living by the flesh, like you going purely off of what you want. Because like we see, you know what I'm saying, Samson is not living in his true identity and calling. Even in this, we see he kind of on the run. But verse 4, His father and mother did not know this was of the Lord. This is still God. God is still working. Even when we be out there doing our own thing, even when we think trying to outrun the plan and purpose of God for our lives, God is still in the background working it out for our good. Okay, I'm gonna let you go out here and do this. I'll let you go out here and do that. And those same people, you're gonna be a testament to. You're gonna be a witness to them, one way or the other. So, like I said, we're not gonna go through the entire story because we already did that. So we see Samson, he goes on and he gets with this girl. His parents agree to it because at this point, he grown. They can't control him. So go ahead, get what you want. And we get down to this riddle. And so Samson gave the guys at his wedding a riddle to solve. And he said, okay, y'all saw the riddle in 7 days. I'll pay y'all. Give y'all 30 changes of clothes, which in that day and time to have an extra set of clothes was a luxury. And he's like, I'm gonna give you a month worth of clothes if y'all figure this out. So basically, the men got to Samson's wife or the woman who was betrothed to him as his wife and manipulated her into getting Samson to tell them the answer. So the woman weighed Samson down and eventually he told her the answer. And she went back and told the guys. So here we go in verse 17. However, we're in chapter 14, Judges chapter 14, verse 17. However, Samson's wife wept before him 7 days while their wedding feast lasted. And on the seventh day, he told her because she pressed him so hard, told her the answer to the riddle. Then she told the answer to the riddle to her countrymen. So the men of the city said to Samson on the seventh day before sundown, what is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than a lion? And he said to them, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, and he went down to Ashkelon and killed 30 of them, and took their gear and gave changes of clothes to those who had explained the riddle. And his anger burned, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion who had been his friend. So basically, he done lost his girl, he done lost his temper. But through it all, God's will is still being done because what was the plan? The plan was for him to kill the Philistines and free the Israelites. So even though in Samson's mind, I'm doing me, we still got God purpose and plan for him still unfolding. It's all working together for the glory of God, even though Samson is in direct disobedience. Like God didn't say, hey man, you suck out and go kill up 30 folks because you lost a bet. He wasn't doing that on in service to God. He was purely going off of flesh and emotion, as a lot of us are. And that's how it is. Like I told y'all, when I was going through my crisis, I'm like, I'm just doing stupid stuff, just psyching out, just out of control. And that's the same thing that we seeing here with Samson. So we see time after time, incident after incident of Samson just basically being emotionally out of control and on the run from God essentially and from his purpose. And so in chapter 15 it opens up with Samson because as we saw at the end of chapter 14, Samson's father-in-law or proposed father-in-law had given his wife to his one of his best friends. So Samson he went and like we do, we psych out, but a lot of us after we calm down, we be kind of sorrowful for what we did. So after a while, Samson cooled down. In the time of wheat harvest, Samson went to visit his wife with a young goat as a gift of reconciliation. And he said, I will go into my wife in her room. But her father would not allow him to go in. Her father said, I really thought you utterly hated her. So I gave her to your companion. Is her younger sister not more beautiful than she? Please take her as your wife instead. Samson said to them, this time I shall be blameless in regard to the Philistines when I do them harm. Samson went and caught 300 foxes and took torches and turning the foxes tail to tail. He put a torch between each pair of tails. When he had set the torches ablaze, he let the foxes go into the standing grain of the Philistines, and he burned up the heap of sheaves and standing grain, along with the vineyards and olive groves. Then the Philistines said, "Who did this?" And they were told, "Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he took Samson's wife and gave her to his chief companion at the wedding feast." So the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. See, that's the thing. A lot of times our actions, we don't realize when we out here operating on our own time and in opposition to God and running from him, other people suffered as collateral damage. Cause see, Samson, he could first of all, he shouldn't have been dealing with this woman to begin with. Second of all, he had no control. He lacked self-control, which we know self-control is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. So he's lacking self-control. But now he's lost his temper and he didn't take it out against his father-in-law, who was the one that wronged him. Nah, he went and burnt up these folks' fields who had honestly did no wrong to him for real. And so now, as a result of that, what they do, they go and kill his wife and his father-in-law. And that's how it is. Sometimes when we're on the run and we're evading purpose in conflict with our identity, other people suffer. People that we care about, people that we love can suffer as a result of our disobedience to obey and heed to the will of God for our lives. And so Samson said to them, after he found out what they did, "If this is the way you act, be certain that I will take revenge on you, and only after that I will stop." Then he struck them without mercy, a great slaughter, and he went down and lived in the cleft of the rock of Edom. Then the army of the Philistines came up and camped in the tribal territory of Judah and overran Lehi. The men of Judah said, "Why have you come up against us?" And they answered, "We have come up to bind Samson in order to do to him as he has done to us." Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock and said to Samson, "Have you not known that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that you have done to us?" He said to them, "As they did to me, so I have done to them." They said to him, "We've come to bind you so that we may hand you over to the Philistines." And Samson said to them, "Swear to me that you will not kill me." So they said to him, "No, we will only bind you securely and place you into their hands, but we certainly will not kill you." So they bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. When he came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting to meet him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, and the ropes on his arms were like flax that had been burned, and his buns dropped off his hands. He found a fresh jawbone of a donkey, so he reached out his hand and took it and killed 1,000 men with it. Then Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey, I have struck down 1,000 men." When he finished speaking, he threw the jawbone from his hand, and he named that place Ramoth Lehi. Then Samson was very thirsty. He called out to the Lord and said, "You have given this great victory through the hand of your servant. And now am I to die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised pagans?" So God split open the hollow place that was at Lehi, and water came out of it. When Samson drank, his spirit strength returned, and he was revived. So listen, here we see again, Samson still is like he moving in pride. He's not fully in surrenderance to God's will, because it's almost like in that and when this verse 18, when he says to God, "You have given this great victory through the hand of your servant, and now am I to die of thirst." That's acknowledging that he knows for sure that he's supposed to be the deliverer of the Israelites, or God is supposed is his purpose, God's purpose for him is for him to be an emancipator. But it's almost like he's scoffing at you know what I'm saying, God's plan and his purpose for his life, because it's like, yo, I done killed all these folks for you, God. And he know he ain't living right. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say like he's just speaking so cavalier to God. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Here I am, your servant. Got me out here. I done killed all these folks for you, God. And you just gonna let me die of thirst after all this? It's amazing how we can be so deluded by our own motives that we can, and it's dangerous, and I do not advise it, to, in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Like you know what you're supposed to do, and you have moments where you know what I'm saying, you'll operate in purpose, but then it's like you won't just live in it. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm still gonna do me. Because even after this, Samson did not change. Even before this, Samson hadn't changed. But God's glory was still being revealed. We see where it said that the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. So the Spirit of God was still with him, even though he wasn't necessarily living right, doing right, saying the right things. That's why I told y'all what we established last week. There is nothing wrong with you. It's wrong, something wrong with the way that you think. It's wrong with the actions that you take. But we see with Samson, with all the mess that he was doing, because say he ruled, judged Israel in the days of the Philistines for 20 years. So right, if he was 40 when he died and he judged ruled for 20 years, that means around about this time, he right about y'all age, like early 20s, something like that. And God is still with him. Let's keep going. Verse 16. Samson's weakness was his flesh. Like he was, his flesh was his Lord. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. He would not surrender his will to God. So we see he out here, he already been married and divorced essentially. Then he went to Gaza and saw a prostitute. Now he out here with dealing with hoes. Saw a prostitute and then went into her. That means he had sex with this prostitute. And the Gazites were told Samson has come here, so they surrounded the place and waited all night at the gate of the city to ambush him. They kept quiet all night, saying, "In the morning, when it is light, we will kill him." But Samson lay resting until midnight. And at midnight, he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate and the two doorposts and pulled them up, security bar and all. And he put them on his shoulders and carried them up to the top of the hill, which is opposite Hebron. Then he fell in love. After this, he fell in love with a Philistine woman named Delilah. So once again, he is falling in love with the very thing that he's supposed to have dominion over. He's in love with his sin, in love with his will, and in love with the way that he want to do things. He's still not reconciled with his identity. And when you're not reconciled with your identity and your purpose in God, you tend to do things that are directly in contrast to his will, like stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Like all of these instances, y'all see, this man is psyching out. Like he's just all the way, yeah, he just freestyling, just doing stuff. Yeah. For what though? He out here sleeping with hoes, he out here done fell in love with another Philistine woman after what we just saw happen 2 chapters ago, or a chapter ago, with the last one. And now he in love. He in love with that girl. So as the story goes with Samson and Delilah, he falls in love with her and she gets tricked by these the enemies, his enemies. And they say, "All right, Shorty, we're gonna pay you to find out where his strength lies," because Samson is still wreaking havoc all over the place, which is still, you know, God's divine will and plan being fulfilled through Samson. So each time Samson does that, every time he tells her, "Okay, this is how they can steal my strength. That is how they can steal my strength." She go back and tell him, and he does not learn. He does not learn. Every time he tells her, she go back and tell them, and they do the very thing that he'd already said. And see, the first wife, or his wife, because he only got married once. When his wife did that, he immediately took action and burnt up everything. Now here it is. He's got more comfortable, more complacent, and further away from God, to where he's enjoying this sin, this life of sin. Now he's in a lifestyle of sin. He ain't just making false moves. He's living a life of sin. He's actively living in disobedience to God, trying to outrun his purpose. So the story goes, because we not gonna, like I said, y'all can read it in your spare time. I encourage you to. It's a very interesting story. The story goes, finally, that Delilah, he told Delilah where his strength lies, which was in his hair, and she called the guys to come and cut his hair off. So, oh, sorry. So he lost his strength. The Spirit of God left him. And let's read that. Let me pull this off for y'all so y'all can see what happened. Then finally, verse 17, chapter 16 of Judges. He finally told her everything that was in his heart and said to her, a razor has never been used on my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaved, then my strength will leave me and I will become weak and be like any other man. Now, here's the thing, because for a while I was thinking like maybe his parents didn't tell him who he was, but in this statement right here, I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. That means he didn't know that. He didn't just know that in and of himself. His parents had to have told him this. He had to have been taught, hey, you are a Nazarite. You are consecrated to God before you even got on this earth. So he knew what his identity was. He knew what his purpose was, but he was so unreconciled with it that he chose to actively live in sin. He was so upset with God, like, I do not want to do this. I want to have my way. And here it is. He's in the hand of the enemy, being consumed and being conquered by that which he was purposed to conquer. So Delilah realized that he had told her everything in his heart. So she sent and called for the Philistine lords, saying, come up this once, because he has told me everything in his heart. Then the Philistine lords came up to her and brought her the money they promised in their hands. She made Samson sleep on her knees, and she called a man and had him shave off the 7 braids of his head. Then she began to abuse Samson, and his strength left him. She said, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. And he woke from his sleep and said, I will go out as I have time after time and shake myself free. For Samson did not know that the Lord had departed from him. And that's the thing that I want y'all to remember. When you out here living life on your own term, doing things your own way, you get so comfortable and caught up in your sin, you don't even realize when the Spirit of the Lord has left you. Because the word tells us that his Spirit won't strive with us forever. At some point, God will back off and let us have it our way. And essentially, that was it for him. That was it for God. Chance after chance after chance, all throughout this whole story, God has been faithful. God has been with Samson, even in his foolishness. God has been with Samson, constantly pursuing him, constantly allowing Samson to triumph and be victorious. And a lot of times, that's what we think. Oh, because you having all these wins, we ain't suffering no real consequences. Oh, God's still allowing us to escape. That God gonna forever let us get by, and we can just keep playing in God's face. Nah, we see that with Samson. The Lord departed from him. Then the Philistines seized him and gouged his eyes out, and they brought him down to Gaza and bound him with 2 bronze chains, and he was forced to be a grinder of grain into flour at the mill in the prison. But the hair of his head began to grow again after it had been shaved off. When his hair began to grow back, that's how we know that he started to regain favor with God. He got reconnected. And that's something else that we need to remember, that it's not over until it's over. As long as you got breath in your body, you can still be reconciled back to God. You can still be who he called you to be. But sometimes it costs you everything when you don't go ahead on the front end and surrender to him. Just accept his will, because his will is what's best. So we see Samson, his hair is growing back. And Samson prayed. He got back in connection with God. These people, they still playing in Samson's face like, ooh, our God, their God with little g, they fake God, has given Samson, our enemy, into our hands. When the people saw Samson, they praised their God, for they said, our God has handed over our enemy to us, the ravager of our country, who has killed many of us. Now, when they were in high spirits, they said, call for Samson so that he may amuse us. So they called Samson out of the prison, and he entertained them. They made him stand between the pillars. Then Samson said to the boy who held him by the hand, "Let me feel the pillars on which the roof of the house rests so that I may lean against them." Now the house was full of men and women, and the Philistine lords were there. And on the flat roof were about 3,000 men and women who looked on while Samson was entertaining them. So now it's the perfect scene is set for Samson to fulfill his ultimate purpose, which was to free the Israelites from the Philistine control. Because now we see we at this big party. All the government officials are there, all the power players are there, everybody who is capable of making major moves and major changes in the Philistine camp is at this party. Who's also there? The man of God who is supposed to liberate the people from oppression. So boom. Verse 28, Samson, now he's blind, he's broke, busted, and disgusted. And he called to the Lord and said, "Oh Lord God, please remember me and please strengthen me just this one time, oh God, and let me take vengeance on the Philistines for my two eyes." Samson took hold of the two middle support pillars on which the house rested and braced himself against them, one with his right hand and one with his left. And Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." And he stretched out with all his might, collapsing the support pillars, and the house fell on the lords and on all the people who were in it. So the dead whom he killed at his death were more than those whom he had killed during his entire life. Then his brothers and his father's entire household came down, took him, and brought him up, and they buried him in the tomb of Manoah his father, which was between Zorah and Eshtaol. So Samson had judged Israel for 20 years. So we see what ultimately happened. God's will was done, but it cost him his life. His story did not have to end like that. But that's what happens when you think you can outrun God and you think you can outrun yourself. Like you can't, when you are chosen by God, there are some people that God just got his hand on, like you're chosen. And there's nothing that you can do about it. As much as you try to buck against it, as much as you want to be out here in the world doing your thing on your own timing, you can't outrun him. And that's what we see with Samson. Samson was out here living, doing everything he was big and bad enough to do. But eventually, God took his hand off. But he was still in control. Why? Because all things got to work out the way that he planned it and purposed it. I don't believe God's divine will was for Samson to die there with the Philistines. But it is what it is. It happened the way that it happened because of disobedience. Because Samson, in the words of my brother, thought he was bigger than the system. And it caught his disobedience cost him his life, but he still ended up having to do what God purposed him to do, which was free the Israelites from the oppression of the Philistines. Questions? I'm so sorry we went over time. I'm so sorry, y'all. Does this all make sense? Okay. I got one thumbs up. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're understanding. Do y'all see the identity crisis in Samson's story? You thought you was big in the program? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, 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 okay. Okay. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Drop your name in the chat. Everybody that's on here at this point, drop your name in the chat so I can give y'all credit for the challenge. Everybody drop your name in, drop your name in. Please remember to invite others. Cherish, did you enjoy the series, not series, the session?
I did.
Cool, 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 cool. Thank you for joining us. I hope you come again. We usually don't go this long, but I apologize. Big Chris and Jazz, Florence, Tabarisha. Oh, I like what you said, Ty, for sure, especially in verse 17 when he was talking about I would be as any other man, almost like he wanted to be. Exactly. And that's the thing, y'all. We are called for greater. We in this world, but not of this world. We're not called to be like any other person. No, we called to be who God divinely created us to be, which ain't just like any other regular person. Because we live in another system. We supposed to live in the kingdom system as believers. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Ty. Um, like I say, everybody make sure y'all drop your name in the chat so y'all can get credit for being here until the end. How can we pray for you? How can we be praying for you before we get out of here? How can we be praying for you? Okay, no specific prayer requests tonight. More joy and love, for sure, for sure, for sure. Health. All right. All right, then I'm gonna pray us out. God, thank you. Thank you for being God. Thank you for this moment. God, I thank you for allowing us to just have the opportunity to just journey through your word. Lord, I thank you for all that you revealed in your word to us. God, I pray that you let us leave this session feeling more empowered, more eager to live according to your will, to surrender to your will and operate in your divine purpose for our lives. Let us surrender our will for yours. Let us lay down at the altar all of our thoughts, all of our plans, all of our dreams, our ideas of what things should be and how they should be. And God, give us clarity, give us divine focus, help us to see you in all things. God, don't let us be so caught up in our ways and lost in the sauce that we stray so far that you take your hands off of us and it costs us our lives. Let us live fulfilled lives in you. Let us live on purpose, God. Let us glorify you with all that we are and everything that we do. Help us to develop more um intentional prayer lives, God, to seek your face for what we should do and how we should do it, to seek your face for our purpose and identity, and not only for our purpose and identity, but God, help us to reconcile with your divine purpose for us. Let us accept it, God, and not try to sabotage it. And God, right now I pray for joy, for peace, for love, for health, for wealth in all areas, God. Increase us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, professionally, financially, God. I pray, God, even as we're on this consecration, Lord, as we approach the halfway mark, that you just strengthen us. Help us to go on. Help us to fully yield to you even in this, to surrender our will even in this, God. And I pray for everyone that's on the consecration. I pray that we get everybody to participate, but maybe, you know what I'm saying, everybody's not at the same point, God. And I pray that you just continue as you always have. Just meet us where we are, God. Continue to judge us according to what our heart's intentions are, God. And give us the faith, those who may not have the faith to trust you in the consecration. Give them the faith to trust you. Give them the faith to yield to you, to surrender to you, God, in that way. And Lord God, just bless us with divine transformation inside out. Let your perfect will be done concerning us, oh God. I pray for each and every person that's on here. Those who are unsaved, I ask that you save them and fill them with your Holy Spirit, God. I pray for each and every person's family, that you meet and exceed every need concerning them. And God, help us to be effective witnesses for you. God, help us to love you, love people, make disciples, and spread the gospel. Pray all these blessings and many more in your son Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all. Uh, like I said, y'all got any questions? Hit me up. You don't know how to get in contact with me. Somebody you know does. Good to see y'all again. And yeah, we out here.
Bye, y'all.
Good night, y'all.